Hello and welcome to Reroll. My name is Angus Morrison and today I will be reviewing Bioshock Infinite, developed by Irrational, published by 2K and released worldwide on 26th of March 2013. The review embargo was lifted about 24 hours prior to its release, and by this point you will be very aware of the phenomenal, universal, runaway success that Infinite has met with the makers of the original Bioshock at the helm and clocking in at around 5 years of development. We were all hoping that it could live up to our colossal expectations. And somehow it has. Bioshock Infinite is not a game that I have finished. Many of you will be further ahead than me. Many of you will have completed it by now. But it remains unfinished not because of a lack of time invested, but because so many of the hours I have invested have been spent simply staring slack-jawed at my surroundings or listening to the witterings of every inconsequential NPC I can find and gently strolling through one of the most convincing worlds I have yet to experience. So you've likely played Infinite, and if you haven't, you don't need this review to make a purchasing decision because every critic this side of the galaxy will tell you the same thing. You buy it, and you buy it now! So in the next 10 minutes or so, I hope to really go into some of the specifics as to why this is one of the most special games ever produced. And admittedly, that sounds much like overdramatic tat to make for an exciting introduction, but Bioshock is fun, beautiful and highly intelligent in every way. Well, every way but one, but we'll come to that in due course. Onwards! If you've had the patience to stick with my review since I started, well, good on you, and you'll be aware that the quality of writing in games is something of a personal crusade. While graphical improvement suffers from diminishing returns, you can only increase the polygon count so far before the human eye fails to distinguish the change, writing is afforded less credit in the quest for realism than is generally deserved. After all, it defines precisely how the world's inhabitants are able to interact, down to the letter. This belief is easily suspended for the odd gameplay bug, but a B-grade script makes itself known with every spoken word. For Bioshock Infinite then, which concerns itself above all else with engaging you with its peculiar world, it seems fitting that I should start with the dialogue. Stats like Bioshock Infinite has 20,000 more words than the average novel, of which 10,000 lines belong to lead characters Booker DeWitt and Elizabeth alone, have been thrown about in the course of Infinite's development. But the raw stats do nothing to showcase the pure, affecting quality of the dialogue. The subtle comedy woven into Infinite's dialogue is one of its defining features. These aren't rough and ready puns and patronising expositions of basic plot points. There aren't a great many actual jokes either. Rather, watching Bioshock play out is like watching a sitcom. The entertainment comes simply from observing the main characters riff off each other in a restless battle of wit and comic timing. Actually, relentless might be a better word here than restless, because there are precious few moments when both Booker and Elizabeth lapse into silence. Their commentary is so rich and so varied, and for the most part so relevant to your present situation, that these feel like the interactions of real people, two strangers thrown together in an impossible situation. The colourful dialogue is bolstered by a Herculean effort on the part of Irrational to script a range of natural, incidental behaviours which foster an unparalleled tie to your travelling partner and the story that is being spun around you. To give some examples, Elizabeth will refrain from following DeWitt into the men's bathrooms, opting instead to wait outside, opening the door at intervals to check on his progress with increasing exasperation.
Hope you don't intend for me to follow you in there.
Or, after a conversation lapses into moody silence, you will catch her staring at you before quickly glancing away as you turn to face her. She will appear to search the environment, read posters, stare out of windows, or simply slump against walls when bored. And articulate interaction is not limited to the leading lady. There are few denizens strolling Columbia's sunlit streets who don't have something to say, and even the simplest greetings are unique, often eliciting similarly spontaneous responses from DeWitt. This is not mere storytelling, this is world building in its truest form. Each novel outburst and muttered line draws Columbia in greater detail, bringing to life an impossible city. Without giving too much away, by far the funniest characters are the mysterious pair of Brits dogging your steps around the floating city. Again, the jokes are characterised by their subtlety, delivered dry and deadpan and written in a style resembling 1920s radio comedy. The intelligent exchanges which pervade the game do more to engage than all the polygons in the world. But this is not the tale of a comic romp through a floating city, and less tasteful topics are Infinite's bread and butter. Bioshock's Rapture was a grotesquerie built upon twisted ethics, but ultimately far enough divorced from reality so as not to keep you awake at night. By far the hardest decision there was to spare or extinguish the little sister's fragile lives. Infinite hits closer to home. The rotting heart of Columbia is a mass of racist zealotry. No longer a passive witness to moral decay, you are forced to make uncomfortable choices with unpredictable outcomes fresh off the boat, and they get harder from there. Irrational have tackled difficult subjects with utmost confidence, and the result is fascinating to behold. The amount of care that has gone into crafting the character of Elizabeth is also astounding. Despite resolutely positive hype, there was always this fear in my mind that Infinite would end up resembling one great big escort quest, which amounted to dragging a bullet sponge through an otherwise perfect city. Never has an AI-controlled companion been so useful, however. One of the earlier tutorial pop-ups loudly proclaims, "Do not worry about protecting Elizabeth, she can take care of herself." The woman in question even self-consciously informs DeWitt, "You'd be surprised at what I can do." And indeed I was. Elizabeth's interjections concerning hidden loot or explorable areas frequently pointed out things that I had failed to register entirely. Her ability to keep up with you, barring a few pathfinding slips, is impressive, and for the most part she leads with a restless energy. Because Elizabeth is a character who has been trapped in a tower, and I've never met any real person who has been trapped in a tower, but I would imagine that they behave very much like this. The hours immediately following her rescue are a heady rush of exploration and activity, both vocals and animation screaming carefree excitement. She is naive but headstrong, inexperienced but fiercely intelligent, and the experience she gains over the course of the game is deliberately reflected by the decreasing references to the girl or the lamb in favour of the more prevalent use of Elizabeth. There comes a very deliberate child-adult tipping point which is perhaps more obvious than it needs to be, but Elizabeth is a character that you cannot fail to connect and empathise with. Far from excess baggage, she is a delight to have on your side. The supporting cast might lack some of the sinister mystique that was a hallmark of Rapture's Sander Cohen, for example, but the chemistry of the leading characters outshines such minor complaints. And where Rapture felt at times disjointed, a series of disparate domains housing isolated plot points, Columbia's tale flows naturally for the duration. This flow, this sense of coherence, owes much to Infinite's stellar level design. Within 30 seconds of my arrival, I had completely forgotten my main objective and, embarrassingly, forgotten the key which would bring up my quest log as well. But in the end it didn't matter. I spent the better part of an hour simply ambling from place to place, intent on chatting to the citizenry and looting anything that wasn't bolted to the floor without a care in the world, and yet somehow I ended up just where the game needed me to be. Not surprising, you might say. Bioshock Infinite is, after all, a linear game. But it doesn't feel linear. Infinite's corridors are so perfectly presented that what was a simple A to B sprint felt like a random stroll on a Sunday afternoon. A to B via X and J. And Columbia's aesthetic is incomparably beautiful. The temptation is there to describe it as a pastel or watercolour style, Dishonored-like affair, but these descriptions do nothing to describe the variance and the changeability of Columbia's environs. If A City in the Sky might have seemed like a potentially narrow setting, it is anything but. It is also tempting to praise it for its use of colour, but saying use of colour on its own means almost nothing. I mean, most blind people will be able to tell you that games probably use colour. What is really praiseworthy, however, is its use of every colour that can possibly exist. From preview trailers, we were all aware of the clean, bold American red, whites and blues that comprise the early game, but what came as a surprise was the readiness to shake things up in order to best reflect the tone of the level, and the speed at which these changes take place. In one early example, a foray into the Raven cult headquarters sees the world desaturated and fog rush in an instant. In the oppressed shantytown, deep oranges and blacks are the order of the day. Neither of these can compare, however, to the wondrous wash of purples, blues and golds revealed upon arrival into the city. As buildings float and bob about their precarious moorings, so too the palette captures the dynamism and life of Columbia. Indeed, I can but level one major fault at Bioshock Infinite's level design, and it is the only major fault that I can find with the game as a whole, and that concerns the considerable backtracking demanded by some areas. The example that really stands out involves a search for a gunsmith that sees a trip to the gun shop, to a club, out again and back to the gun shop, and you still don't find what you were after. Granted, the backtracking is fully justified by the storyline, and each iteration of the level sees a new quirk added as you slip between various dimensions, but at the same time, having to clear out an area which you've already swept to get back to where you've already been somewhat detracts from the riotous foray into the unknown that makes up the rest of the game. It's a good job then that clearing areas of enemies is a very, very enjoyable task. The first Bioshock's combat, while varied, did feel at times like trying to control a shopping trolley with a broken wheel, but years of polish have clearly worked wonders for Infinite. The gunplay lacks some of the weight of the more dedicated military extravaganzas, but the fluidity with which you unload clips on the fly and grab ammo from Elizabeth before taking to the skylines are as far from the concept of the cover shooter as can be. The decision to allow only 2 weapons to be carried at once was an excellent one, and on hard difficulty the scarcity of ammunition pushes the player into constant movement and tactical revisions. This is only enhanced by the smarts of the AI, who, wielding the same arsenal as you, will bomb you from afar while others push in to flush you out. Gunplay is a flurry of activity which offers healthy challenge. Plasmids, which added so much variety to Bioshock's world by allowing you to, among other things, expel bees from your palms, make a comeback in the form of Vigors. They work according to the same premise, being selected from your total of 8 and fired off using the right mouse button, draining salts in the process. The freedom that these afford you in combat is laudable, allowing you to adapt according to your preferred playstyle and in response to new challenges. Prefer to get up close and personal with a shotgun? Pull enemies in with undertow and unleash hell. More of an RPG kind of guy? Stun them with crows and make it rain. The expense of many upgrades naturally forces you into specialising in your favourite weapons and vigors, organically tailoring a playstyle that is unique to you. The occasional choice to level up your shields, health or salts, and the presence of unobtrusive gear upgrades adds a further level of customization that supplements the gameplay without distracting you from the business at hand. So combat is the complete package. All the components are there for organic battles at breakneck pace, and they are polished to a shine in a way that few games can hope to match. That this takes place in one of the most unique environments yet dreamed of is a staggering achievement too. Rapture was an awesome creation, threatening in its dark, damp decay. Columbia goes further still and does it in glorious technicolor. These facets would be enough on their own to make a great game, but the characters brought to life through stellar acting and highly intelligent writing ties them together into a complete world. Bioshock Infinite has raised the bar for gaming. Buy it. Buy it now.